Hello and welcome to Should You Play, our video solution to your gaming curiosity. Today we're going to be talking about Tomba Special Edition, which is a remastered version of the 1998 Tomba on PS1, or Tombi, depending on who you ask, with lots of quality of life improvements and additions.
This wacky platform adventure game sees players control the feral child Tomba, whose goal is to recover his deceased grandfather's golden bracelet heirloom from an evil race of anthropomorphic pigs. The PS1 game gained favourable reviews, but sadly didn't sell enough copies to get into Sony's greatest hits list.
The game later gained a cult following, and the physical PS1 version of the game became rare and coveted, meaning expensive, so I never revisited Tomba as an adult. Despite this, I have fond childhood memories of that pink-haired, pig-straddling little weirdo, and I'm so thrilled to see it return for current-gen consoles. But has nostalgia blinded me from the reality of Tomba? Let's find out.
First off, we want to go over the new features, which range from quality of life improvements to nostalgia-fueled additional content that existing fans will appreciate. The ability to rewind the action by pressing the L1 button if you make a mistake is actually a great addition, since, big under no illusion, this game is hard, and you will likely die a lot due to the imprecise jumping mechanic that makes for a challenging platforming experience. If you miss a jump or get hurt, you can simply rewind and try again.
You can also now save anywhere, which is life-saving, but par for the course for most modern games.
In terms of graphics, the saturation has definitely been tweaked since the colours are much more vibrant and everything looks sharper. The game retains the classic aesthetics while making visuals look crisper. Sadly, you can't toggle between the old and new graphics like you can in the Tomb Raider Remaster or the Halo Master Chief Collection to see the improvements.
Graphical improvements haven't been the main boast for this remaster, hence why it's not called Tomba Remastered, it's Tomba Special Edition. So it's not surprising that no emphasis has been placed on them. Let's be honest, they can only work with what they have, and although the graphical enhancements are only noticeable if you play the original and remaster side by side, the improvements are definitely there.
We have played this game on a 4K 50-inch TV and a smaller PC monitor, and we have had no issues with visuals or performance on PS5. What has been a great feature is the ability to change the gameplay screen's aspect ratio to suit whatever screen you are gaming on, and fill in any black background with a selection of Tomba images by pressing R1. Additionally, you can toggle analog controls, but it really doesn't matter whether you use the analog sticks or D-pad due to the grid-based movements. It's more habitual due to modern gaming and feels nicer than using the D-pad.
The game comes with a remastered soundtrack, and you can listen to the original and remastered versions of each track by going on the music player option on the title screen menu, and boy is it nostalgic to hear the original scores again that mirror the game's wacky style. The soundtrack perfectly complements the game, and the remastered soundtrack makes each track sound meatier. From the title screen, you can also access a museum, which shows classic print advertisements, devlogs, artwork, and original packaging and manuals. There is also an interview with the creator, Tokuro Fujiwara, I apologise if I pronounced that incorrectly, who founded Whoopee Camp after leaving Capcom in 1995 and made his vision of a non-linear platformer a reality.
Next, let's talk about the gameplay. Tomba is not a side-scrolling 2D game in a traditional sense, owing to the ability to explore the foreground and backgrounds as separate areas by climbing up walls. This can be initially disorienting, but once your brain can get over the 2.5D layout of the game, you will come to see it as a really cool aspect of Tomba.
Although the bulk of the game is played from a side-scrolling perspective, there are sections that are more open and have an isometric view, such as the Dwarf Village. This is not the only way Tomba spices up typical gameplay. The original Tomba was praised for its controls, visuals, and interesting fusion of linear and non-linear gameplay styles that differentiated it from other similar games of that era.
Although the game does have an overarching linear narrative, gameplay objectives are non-linear, owing to its event system, which modern gamers will recognise as side quests and tasks. These events can be triggered in a variety of interesting ways, such as discovery, by accident, collecting things, smashing a wall, finding a puppy, and of course speaking to people when there's nothing to suggest they have a quest on offer.
I really enjoy this approach to gameplay because it provides motivation to thoroughly discover all that the game has to offer. For example, Craig accidentally fed a plant an apple and gained a collectible, and I wasn't even aware you could do that, even as a child. The only downside is that the game leaves players largely in the dark about what they're supposed to do. We are left to figure out how the game works by ourselves.
There are signposts in the environment which provide tidbits about the game's controls and abilities, but other than that, there's not much to suggest where to go or what to do. Some gameplay tips pop up when you do certain things, such as jumping onto a branch, but when it comes to questing, there is absolutely no help. You have to figure it out all by yourself.
A few good examples of this is the A Hungry Monkey quest, the Dwarf Language quest, and the A Man's Best Friend quest. The Hungry Monkey quest can trip people up because at no point are players told that they can jump off tree branches vertically to reach the monkey, who you then have to feed a banana to. The Dwarf Language quest requires you to jump on a dwarf's head several times to learn their language. I mean, who thinks like that?
I know, right? A modern gamer would automatically think there was a hidden scroll somewhere they had to find and get deciphered or something. But this game is intentionally silly and whimsical. Tomba is definitely for outside-the-box thinkers. That's the style they wanted and they just ran with it. I mean, what other game has a farting plant in it or a main character who can store live chicks in his stomach and then regurgitate them still alive? Tomba is definitely a colourful game, visually and contextually. Anyways, the A Man's Best Friend quest is a good example of how the game wants you to think outside the box. You happen by a lost puppy and must find a way to heal its injuries. Unless you happen to speak to one woman inside a hut in the dwarf village who claims to be a healer but will not heal you, you would have no idea where to take this poor puppy.
The fact that the game does not hold your hand when it comes to questing makes it all the more satisfying when you finally figure out what the hell you're supposed to do. I was so pleased when I realised that I could catch water droplets in a bucket and take them to a campfire to put out the fire. It sounds obvious, but the water droplets and the fire are in different areas, and there is absolutely nothing to suggest 1. That you have to put the fire out at all, 2. What the bucket is for, and 3. That the water droplets are anything more than set dressing or an environmental obstacle.
In terms of basic controls, Tomba can jump, climb, swing, bite, throw, use items and select abilities to use. Tomba's main attack is to leap onto the back of enemies to bite them, then throw them, and he can stun enemies using various weapons gained throughout the game, such as flails and boomerangs.
Tomba's actions produce adventure points, or AP, which is comparable to experience points in modern RPGs. AP can be gained through activating and clearing events, defeating enemies and picking up items, and can be used to open AP boxes that contain items and power-ups. Sometimes these power-ups are key to progress further in the game. So, should you play Tomba Special Edition? That is actually a very difficult question to answer.
If you are already a fan or have nostalgic memories, then it's a no-brainer. You should definitely get the Special Edition, especially considering this brand new release costs just a fraction of what getting a rare physical copy of the original would be. If you are not a fan yet, but you like challenging Metroidvania style retro platformers that are quite punishing, then hell yes, Tomba is for you. The game is quite cheap and is definitely value for money.
I already have a soft spot for Tomba, and I was willing to persevere finding joy in discovery, puzzle solving and conquering quests. Yes, I got gamer age, but only because I remember sucking much less at this game as a child. I mean, I'm not even willing to reveal how many times I must have died, it's too embarrassing.
I personally did not play this game for long. I simply could not get past the outdated controls and imprecision of the jumping mechanic, especially with no nostalgia to fuel my interest, despite being a massive fan of platformers from the era like Crash Bandicoot. So I think nostalgia is definitely going to fuel the sales of this one.
Anyways, we hope this episode has shed a light on this classic game that makes us all feel old for being alive long enough to have played the original. Before we go, just a quick thank you to Limited Run Games for providing us with a review copy of Tomba Special Edition. I've been Heather.
And I've been Craig.
This is Amalgamingle, and thank you very much for watching.